Test, test. I think we're live. Okay. So today we're doing dynamic spells or world spells. So this would be like Poison Cloud, Cloud Kill, Spike Field. Spells that would be placed on the map and cause effects to people entering them. So sort of going into this blind, I've not done any prep. So let's try and figure out how to do this with what we have in the code base already. So first thing we probably need to do is set up a new type of spell. So we have buff spell, linear spells. This will be blizzard, that sort of thing. Projectiles, spiral movement is just how HP up, HP down, spiral effect, and then standard spell. So I think we probably need to add a new override to this. We'll call it, I think we'll call it world spell. Maybe name from the naming conventions. I think actually world item is an item that's on the floor. Which is a network behavior. Let's call it dynamic spell for now. Which is going to override spell. So we get access to all the juicy bits. There's a few things we have to override here. Which are these two functions: unleash server, unleash client. So unleashing is when the spell actually gets cast, and one of them does the visual part of it, which gets run on the client, and then we got the server side part of it, which actually does the effect, like do damage or whatever, add poison. So let's override these. Unleash client, unleash server. So we probably need some things on this spell. Probably just some sort of prefab, which will store the visual effect. So let's go with, let's just call it dynamic spell prefab. So this is what the client's going to do. We need to pick the location up that the player's clicked. We need to know what chunk they're on as well, because if they cast a spell from a different chunk, the spell might actually be occurring in a different chunk they're actually on. So that's why we get that. Don't necessarily need to get an owner, we just need to get a location. And one of the things we probably want to do here as well is, and this wasn't in the original game, keep track of who casted that spell, because that spell, well, spells in general actually are going to be scaling based on the character who casted them. In the original game, they didn't have the ability to track that user, and therefore we couldn't really use their magic stat or anything like that. Although what I was just thinking about was, what if the character changes their stats while that effect is going? So we might have to calculate it when we unleash it on the server, pass those values into the world spell, and then do it from there. So lots here to think about, and like I said, I'm diving into this completely blind and trying to figure this out as I go along, using what's already in the game engine. Okay, so I'm going to set up a spell in our settings. Where are we? Spells, right? And because I've set that up, it should come up dynamic spell. Oh, because of this. Create asset menu. I can't remember what it was. So we're going to call this a dynamic spell. And that should give us access to it on the context menu. And then we can configure that spell. Dynamic spell. There we go. I think what we'll do is probably start with Poison Cloud. Seems like the most straightforward one. We have poison already in the game. Spike Field's a bit more difficult because Spike Field causes the damage as you walk over it. Whereas Poison Cloud is just when people are inside the Poison Cloud. So the ID is Poison Cloud. Spell name's just Poison Cloud. Can anyone remember what circle it was? Let's see. Circle 5. So here we have, create dynamic, right? Although this doesn't matter too much because we're using this new dynamic spell class, which is going to handle all of that logic. Base mana cost, we'll just use the OG stuff. Mana was 48, duration 30. Although I did use the configs I'm looking at, I did use these before, and this is the one that has paralyzed at like 30 seconds or something, 50 seconds, which is obviously wrong. So these might be wrong, but range. I can't remember if this is range from the center or range. I think it's range from the center, which would be 2, which in the OG would actually be 3 by 3 because it's a grid. There's no effect on it, I don't think. Oh, the original game had an effect on it, but that could be PD, poison damage. But we're going to do this a little bit differently, I think. So, intelligence required is 49. No damage, no AoE. I mean, this is no direct damage and no direct AoE, whereas we do have this dynamic spell stuff. Yeah, I agree. Metza Troll. I will create it eventually. I think I'm using that, doing the low hanging fruit at the moment. It's only because with things like Spike Field, we have to calculate the distance a character has moved. It's slightly different in the OG because it was grid based. So every time they moved into a new grid position, it would just apply damage. Whereas this is a bit different because we have like interpolated movement between positions. So we need to think about, maybe we say if they've traversed 1 unit of ground within the spike field, then they take damage. So I've got to actually bring in the character class and stuff, so it gets a bit more complicated. But once I've got the basic done, which is actually placing them on the ground, then we can start doing those other more complicated ones. I just realised I don't have a header down here, so I'm just going to add a header over here. Let's call it dynamic settings, something like that. I think everything's going to work in the prefab, including entering and exiting the area of effect, because we can use a box collider. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, actually, all of them in the original game were square because the game's obviously tile based. So technically, we could do it as a circle or sphere collider, which would be quite a nice effect. But I think let's go with square for now. We could always change it. So Unleash servers are quite straightforward. We want to apply these world spells, these objects that are network based onto the world. My point was that the way how something can be coded could be applied to other things as well, like Poison Cloud. Oh, I see. Yeah, potentially. There's sort of two ways of looking at it, really. What you could do is have a timer on the poison cloud object that causes damage to anything within that poison cloud on a set interval. The problem with that is if someone is quite attuned to the timings of them, they can enter it and exit it without taking any damage. But yeah, if it was more like how I just described Spike Field, they would always take damage because as soon as they enter it, they're going to take damage. If they try to exit it, they'll take damage as well because they've traversed a certain distance. So yeah, there might be a better way of doing it to avoid people avoid people trolling or cheesing it. All right, so the next thing we're probably going to do is create some sort of networked object. We already have something similar in the world item. A world item is an item that's on the floor. Like if you drop an item, it's on the floor, and it updates all the clients that something is in the world. That's why I've called it world item. So I think I'm going to call the spell world spell as the network behavior, and then that will sync automatically through the fishnet stuff, and I won't need to run or write in the RPCs and stuff. So let's go and create world spell. We're going to make this a network behavior. I hate that Unity does this. Creates with a namespace. So Unity engine, world spell. I'm going to say network behavior. All right. Now what we can do is probably spawn as soon as the spell is available on the network using on start client. That's sort of how I've done it with the world items. So as soon as the item spawns into the world, it then renders it into the scene. Probably the best way, because then we've got a bit more control over the particle effects or however I'm going to display this. Now what we need to do is set up some sync variables first, actually. First thing is, what spell is this, so that both the client and the server are aware of what this is. So we're going to, I think it's just spell. In fact, we can actually use dynamic spell here, I believe. I mean, that could actually just be the ID of the spell. It doesn't really matter too much. Although, the thing about dynamic spells, we could actually store information on here about the player that casted it. So, yeah. So let's do a bit of copy pasting. Render spell. Render spell. So if item, it's not item, is it? Spell. Spell null. Then we're going to sort of render it. I guess we could. I mean, technically, what we could do is create prefabs for each of the spells, but then you've got hundreds of network prefabs. I don't like that. No, I think this is fine. We have a single dynamic spell prefab, or sorry, world spell prefab, and then they would load the dynamic effect through here. So it would be something like instantiate spell dot prefab dot value, sorry, prefab, dynamic spell prefab. And we can just use this object as the parent, sits underneath the object. So we're gonna, let's create a prefab from this. Let's call this a world spell. World spell. So that's going to automatically add this. We're setting this as spawnable, so the network can spawn it to all the clients. And yeah, let's just create prefab. and that will automatically add it to the list of available prefabs that Fishnet can use. Probably, yeah, I'll probably put it under here. World spell. All right. Now we need to spawn this world spell when the spell is cast, so we need to have access to this prefab somewhere, so we can spawn it on the network. And I actually moved some of the scenes around to make it make more sense. So I've separated out into the world scene, which has all the managers, which are shared between the client and the server. One of them is the magic manager here. So we're going to add the prefab over here. World spell prefab. We could actually use the magic manager because it is. Yeah, this is a good idea actually. We can use the world manager to keep track of. Oh no, we can't because it's not networked. No, don't worry, that's a bad idea. But let's drag in our prefab. Oh. Okay. Yeah, so this is where we're going to have a bit of a problem with this, the sync var. The sync variable over here. The sync variable has properties that cannot be serialized. So I think that it's probably better to just bring in the spell ID. Because we have access to the manager over here anyway. So we can say dynamic spell equals. Actually, we don't know if it's dynamic at this point. Magic manager instance get spell. Now we use spell ID value. We can do and spell is dynamic spell. So we can cast it during this if statement and then make sure that it's definitely a dynamic spell that has been passed in. Otherwise, it's not going to have access to this prefab. And cause all sorts of problems. Let's wait for Unity to do its thing, and then I can apply that prefab to the magic manager. Well, prefab spell. Of course. I wish they would fix that. It doesn't find the prefabs if they've got the behavior attached. Where do I put it here? World spell. Alright, I've now got a reference to that prefab. Now I need to spawn it. So let's jump back into the dynamic spell and look at unleash server. So our target is right here, which is the position that the player has clicked. There is a function actually. There's a function that corrects the positioning if we're on elevation. It'd be easier for me to just look at another one here. I'm gonna have to go and find it, aren't I? Hold on. Get closest point. No. Was it fixed height? I think it's fixed height actually. Oh, but the problem with fixed height is that it works with the terrain, and the terrain is client side only. I think there's another. I'm sure there's another one here somewhere. Is water. Let's forget about that for now. We might have to create a helper function. So unleash server. We've got the target position. We want to now spawn spawn a world item in. So let's get access to Magic Manager instance. So, world spell prefab. We need to instantiate world spell prefab. World spell, and then we need to spawn it. So spawn, we don't have access to spawn here. We can use instance finder, maybe instance finder, or spawn it from somewhere else. We're in a bit of a awkward position here. We use instance finder. Because dynamic spell isn't a networked object, we'd have to tell something else. Yeah, so we can use something like server manager on the instance finder. Instance finder. So this is part of fishnet. Server manager to spawn. We want to spawn new world spell. There's no owner. Technically, we don't really want anyone to take control of this. And then scene manager. Get scene. Do you know what? We have to use the map chunk ID, which we can do with this. So we have this helper function here that gets the chunk based on the position that I've targeted. So say, for example, I'm in Easton Town and I've shot the spell into the middle land. It's going to get the chunk of the position that I shot into rather than the position that I'm in, because the middle land needs to take control of this object. So yeah, we can do here target map chunk config.id. Scene manager is fishnet scene manager. Fishnet scenes, that's the one. Good. And yeah, because this is, I think, instantiating, it's instantiating a typed behavior, I can just do .gameObject. So that should spawn it into the world. And we need to manage these, and so that they despawn after a certain amount of time, which we'll get onto in a minute. So I think we can test this by, let's just put like a cube or something here. And Unleash client, we don't actually need to do much with this, I don't think, because the rendering of the dynamic object is going to happen by the client once they receive this. Once this instantiates on their side. Oh, there's one thing we do need to do, is set the spell ID, which is that sync var. Oh, we're already in here, so we've got access to it through this spell thing here. Is it just good ID? Yeah, there we go. And just for good measure, I'll put that in there. That's, I don't really like setting it like that. Maybe we can have a helper function or something. It'll do for now. So let's build that. So what we should hopefully see, oh, one other thing. We need to register the spell on the Magic Manager. Magic Manager. So the last ones I did there, cancellation, stamina recovery, recall. Wasn't cloud. So, alright, let's test this. So this should hopefully allow me to cast it anywhere. It should then spawn the world item on the server, which should spawn it into the game. Do you know what? There's one thing that I didn't consider actually. So the way the networking works in Fishnet is that we have observers, and I think by default the observer is scene observer, which means you need to be in the same scene for it to appear. So we might want to override that and use distance observer, which I've set up so it's like within 12 or 15 units of the object. I did this for trees. I did this for the mining rocks and stuff as well. So yeah, I think I might change that quickly. That's if we just network observer, we're going to ignore the manager and use the distance condition. That I think that'll work much nicer because it doesn't matter what scene you're on. It doesn't really care. It just cares that you're near it, basically. Not as optimal, but I think it will work better. Be a bit more optimal in terms of managing it. Alright, laters, King. Okay. So let's run the game, which is what most people only care about, really. Got the server running. Let's run main menu. Make it a bit bigger for everyone to see. Okay. Where's my sound? Coming out my speakers for some reason. There we go. Whoa, it's loud in my ear now. Okay. Spells. Poison Cloud. So nothing happened there. Should have spawned it right here. No object spawning, don't think. No, not spawning. Okay, so let's go back to the code. So we get the word spell prefab. Stop. Get the word spell prefab, set the ID, and then we spawn it. We spawn the game object. So possibly assume this is fine. Spell ID shouldn't matter because once OBS. Okay, thanks OBS. Once it spawns in the world, it then loads a dynamic spell effect. But actually, on that item we have, it should show a cube, so I think it should be fine. So it's just not spawning for some reason. So I think what we need to do is probably run the server and check on the server, see what's happening, see if it actually instantiates. So I'm going to build the client, run the client independently, and then run the server within the editor. And then hopefully we'll see the object appear on the server, and then we can narrow down why it's not spawning on the client. Okay, so that's going to spawn up all of the map chunks. So we told it to spawn the thing in the scene that we're currently on. So okay, so the world spell gets created. We have a distance condition, which I should meet because I'm... Oh, I wonder if it's the position is a bit off. Oh, yeah, why is it all the way up here? Yeah, the position, it does create it, but the position is well off. In the air. Okay. I assume the prefab doesn't have a position set on it. Oh, it does. Did I do that? Oops. Let's reload and try that again. That would be why it wasn't actually creating the object on the client, because I didn't meet the distance condition because it was up in the air. I mean, even with the prefab having a position set on it, it should have changed position. Or did it actually? Did I set it to... Ah, no, I didn't. I didn't set the position here, did I? Yeah, that'd be why. So let's do that. I wasn't actually... So if I did it again just there, it would have set it at 0, 0, 0. It's because I didn't set this position here. The override. Yeah, we'll just do it a target for now. We might have to lift it above the ground a little bit, and then we'll just do quaternion.identity. We don't really care about rotation. And yeah, that should fix it. I won't need to rebuild this actually. Not that one. The client I won't need to rebuild. I'll just run the server again. Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, the first part works. The second part is probably just complaining about the dynamic effect doesn't exist or something. What does it say? This junk. Yeah, this is just where we're trying to render the spell, and that just doesn't exist. I didn't do a null check on that. But yeah, we can see that the dynamic object is there. What I'm going to do is load up a second version of the client and make sure that if I'm logging in, that object is there when I log in, because it means that if I log in after the spell is cast, I need to be able to see it. Oh, this character is there actually. Yeah, So we can see there that the dynamic effect, which there's a collider on it as well. The dynamic effect is being shared between both clients there, which is great. So yeah, that's really good, nice and easy. Now it's the effects via the server and also the effects, the visual effects on the client. So let's start with the server side. I do get carried away with visuals, so it'd be good to work on the server first. Alright, first of all, I'm going to turn off that collider because that was just. I know it's just a box, but the collider is actually quite annoying. It's just in the way. So that'll show a box with no collider now. But that's the default visual effect. And we can come back to the code. So how do we do this? Also, the other thing I'll do is just do a null check here. Oh, that's really bad actually. Dynamic is a keyword in C#, so I should really do that. But yeah, do a null check. So that error doesn't come up anymore if we don't have a spell effect, which we won't have for the next half an hour, I'd say. Okay. Unleash client doesn't do anything. The client is going to be handled by the world spell. So that will be things like the cloud effect moving around, the ice storm movement, which I don't even know how to do that at the moment. Might have to watch a YouTube video or something. And then as for the server, so I think what we should do here is do all of the processing on the world spell, because the world spell can have a collider on it of a certain size, and we can handle it with the on enter on exit. Collider on enter on exit. We just get the in the syntax for those two. Yeah, on trigger enter. So on trigger enter, and then on trigger exit. The good thing about these, and I actually have an example of where these are used, is that they work on the server as well. So let me have a look. Teleport. Yeah, they work on the server. Because we do it for the teleport positions. Not that we do much teleporting now because it's open world, but we can use these on the server and they can trigger something to happen. In fact, it's probably a good idea to take these layers here. Possibly. Or we could use a layer mask. 6 and 9. What's 9? Oh, owner. Oh yeah, we don't use character anymore. Yeah, we can use owner. So yeah, we could do something like if that we can get the character. We can get both types of owners because we have NPCs as well. So let's get the game object, get component owner, which is the parent class for both characters and NPCs. And we probably want to keep track of who's within our world spell so that when we apply whatever effect it is, we could apply it to everyone who's currently within it. So let's create a list of owners. Uh, 1 owners in range or something. I don't know. And we can then add owners in range to add owner. And then similarly, we can remove that owner if they leave. So the important thing here is that we need to be able to add a collider. And we need to be able to manage the collider as well based on the spell config. So let's add a collider onto this main object here. And like I said earlier, we'll use a box collider. Even though I don't like the idea of these effects being square, I think for simplicity, we can stick with a cube for now. So, okay, so the center of our spell is right there. And I think we can easily just change these, I believe, and do it like that. The X and the Z coordinates. This needs to be on trigger, not so it's convex. But I think we can just override these two when we render the spell. Set up area of effect. Void setup area of effect. Duplicated code, doesn't matter. You didn't see that. And we need a reference as well here to our box collider. AoE collider, for lack of a better word. Serialize field. So we've got access to it in the inspector and I can assign it. Because I want to set this size value. Give Unity a second to do its thing. So the AoE collider, not equal to null, we can do AoE collider.size. So vector 3, that's good. So we got the spell dot range, which is 2 on Poison Cloud. We can still have that as 1, and again spell dot range, so it's 2 by 2. So effectively, what that's telling the box collider to do is set the X and Z values and look something like this. When you finished Unity, thank you. Yep, so it's going to set up an area of effect like this, and this is the area in which the on trigger enter and on trigger exit is going to be checking constantly for. Okay. Next thing, we need to think about how we're going to do the damage. Let's just stick with Poison Cloud for now. One way we can do it is we can create a coroutine that runs every X amount of seconds. It checks who's in the area of effect and applies poison. Or we can have it so that it's based on how much people have moved around. Now I think, I'll have to have a look at the old code, but I think Poison Cloud works the first way that I described. I think. Maybe we can just have a quick dive through the original code here and have a quick look. Thanks, Jins. If you want to see anything, let me know. I can boot up the game and we can have a little play in there. I recently added woodcutting and mining and started on the sell item system. Yeah, so this is Play Helrift Equilibrium, I believe. So they have some sources, they're not super clean. They are actually like I said earlier, that there's like paralyzers on 50 seconds or something like that. But they've at least got the core code in there, so we can see if see how Poison Cloud actually worked. Hi IA. Server HG is going to be, yeah. So this is the stuff that it used to do. Used to be dynamic object at CPP, which doesn't have anything because who cares about object orientated programming? They just use it as a header. Because everything was just in game.cpp. Oh, look at that! It's already taken me to it. Weather bonus. There's a weather bonus on Poison Cloud. That could be quite cool. Let's see if I can get lucky here. Poison dynamic. Here we go. So dynamic object effect processor. This is the C++ code for dynamic objects, or what I'm now calling world spells, which I think is a nicer term for it. So for all of the dynamic objects in the world, it processes the, although they've got pcloud begin, ice storm, fire, fire, fire. Oh, maybe it's that simple then. I guess cloud kill is under pcloud begin. Right, so yes, this is going through all the tiles on the map and getting the owner, if there is an owner on the tile that is affected by the poison cloud. So how does the tick work? This is calculating the damage. The only thing I can think is that all of the dynamic objects are on a timer, possibly. This is just checking if they're dead. Same here. Calculate damage, apply the poison, does a resist check there, and then sees if they're dead. Oh, so this must be running on a timer. Oh wow, okay. That's really simple. Because what that's doing is making sure that all of the dynamic effects are happening on the same timer. That's interesting. I was going to do an individual timer for each effect, which I think is better anyway. Interestingly, spike field's not there. Spike field. Yeah, this works slightly different, doesn't it? So network code. God, I hate C++. Spike field, more network code. Oh wait, hold on. Whoa, what's whoa? Oh, firewall, fire field possibly? Or did they originally have a spike wall and a spike field? The spike field is obviously what we're used to in Helrift, but yeah, it's interesting. I've not seen this. So it's getting the position and then storing. All right, I see what it's doing. So if you're in the spike field, it's storing a temporary position, is it? Checking the direction that you. Oh, well, this direction check is because if it's a wall, it's it's a linear thing. It's not just you're in the field. Flag. Let's check the other code. I think it's really simple here. This is the move handler. So all the move handler is saying is if this tile has spike field in it, do some damage. All right. Well, I saw how it was working for Poison Cloud. We probably need to So I think we're doing all of the dynamic stuff in here, all the different types of logic. Which means we probably need to have a type and a switch. Spell type. Yeah, let's create a new enum. World effect type, possibly. Spell type. World effect type. I don't like the word effect. World spell type. That'll do. Poison. Let's call it poison cloud. Spike field. Fire. Let's call it, actually, no, let's do it this way. Because we can expand the logic. If we wanted to create like a wall, a field, poison cloud kill, which is a bit bigger, we can have generic words like this. Set up area effect, configure, oh, set area effect. Oh, this is actually wrong. The area effect, we don't really care on the client too much. We care about it on the server, because the server is the one that's going to be dealing with the damage and whether clients are within the area or not. Set up area effect and another function which we can do. Now we could do this on update, or we could do this on a coroutine. I kind of okay. Start world spell. Yeah, start whatever. Okay. Ignore my copy paste code again. I mean, what I really should do is do this on start. Whatever. Let's do switch spell dot. Need to add this here. Public world spell type. World spell type. Let's go and add poison cloud. Come on, Unity. You can do it. Poison cloud right here. So we've got this new. You know what? I always do this, and it really annoys me. It doesn't add like a default value here. And then the problem is if I can't add that after the fact because then it rearranges everything that uses that enumerator because of the way Unity works. I prefer having none at the top. It looks nicer on the inspector. Right, poison, and we do the prefab after we do the server side. Spell dot world dynamic spell dot world spell type poison. Okay. Handle poisoned effect. Okay, so so we need to keep checking until the duration's expired. A good way is just using a code that I've used before, choppable. Run coroutine, no. Poison effect. That pointed me to the right location though. We can go to the effect manager. Status effect manager. So here's where we handle the poison effect coroutine. Yeah, so we do while true, and then we can do wait for seconds. I really don't like how they did it in the original game, but let's just do it like this for now. For wait for seconds, 3,000 milliseconds. 3 seconds? It is, isn't it? 3 seconds. Yeah. So every 3 seconds, we take damage. Although we need to run 2 routines, don't we? Because one of them needs to actually destroy this object after a certain amount of time. Yeah, and despawn it. Which let's just get it working first. Every 3 seconds, we're going to apply poison. So for each owners in range, we want to. Did that poison cloud deal damage? Or did it just apply poison? I can't remember. Yeah, it deals damage as well. Rolls a dice and deals damage directly to the player. And they take more damage with this. I didn't even know this weather effect. Okay. What's this? IV. I think it's ready. I wonder if this is the effect. Let's look. Magic. Poison cloud. It might be this. That's effect 5. Whatever. We'll just add some damage. Direct damage is dice quick roll. Was it 2 and 4? That's whatever for now. Owner take damage. We don't have an attacker, but we will do that later. Damage type poison. Also, we want to apply the poison effect. Stats effect manager. Add stats effects. Stats effects. Poison effect. I could copy this straight out of the spells, to be honest. Poison. Yeah, I mean we can. Oh, does that? Do we need that? Do we need caster? Probably not. It's past null. Duration is. Yeah, of course. Dynamic spell. Let's pass it in. Dynamic spell. Dynamic spell. Duration. Oh, hold on though. No, this doesn't matter at all because poison doesn't use a duration. technically. It disappears on its own. But we can use this though. And we can apply the poison damage onto the config. I don't get how it worked, to be honest. Because they had IV1, which I assume is this value. Is it PD18? What's cloud kill? PD40. Maybe that's why. Maybe they, because of this damage thing here, lower than 20, then it deals less damage to the players. But that should technically be PD20. So I think I'll do that. Effect value 2. It's going to do effect value 1 though. But yeah, it will do poison damage to players and NPCs. Come on. Let me give it PD20. We can scale that later. I mean, when we do cloud kill, we do 40, 60. I do want to change poison so that it stacks. So there's a cap or a limit on the stacked poison. I just don't know how I'm going to balance it at the moment. Alright, so every 3 seconds, it's going to deal some deal direct damage, and then try to deal or try to apply poison. Poison resistance, I don't think is in the game at the moment. I believe poison. If I could spell poison resist. Yeah, I don't think I have. Oh, yeah, it is. Poison resist actually runs in the poison co-routine. Doesn't deal with the actual initial application of the poison. So we add the poison effect, and then it loops, and then tries again, I guess. One thing it's not doing is ensuring that it's not reapplying the poison. Yeah. This is a problem that we had before with the spells. Yeah, I need to do this check, to be honest. It seems better to put it in here, but whatever. Maybe we'll improve that. Because we're in the status effect manager anyway, might as well just do the check in there. Anyway, so this checks if they've got poison or not. If they haven't, then it tries to apply it. So the last thing we need to do is make this thing disappear. So we can do this in here. Let's just destroy after download. Oh, is that something Fishnet does? Oh. Alright. But can we do that here? Maybe we despawn it here? We have a reference to it. Oh, we don't need to do it here actually. Start coroutine. Why don't you like that? It's ready. It's ready. Ah, we can't do it here because it's... Oh, actually, yeah, this is why I had... There's Magic Manager. Yeah, this is a workaround I had to put in. Magic Manager. Yeah, I had to start coroutine from over here. Forgot about that. And it's a similar reason, actually, because it's happening in the spell, yeah. I hope this works on the server side, because there's a bit of an issue here. If it doesn't. So we need to pick up the duration of the spell. Which is going to be under New World Spell. Oh no, we've already got access to it. It's going to be just duration. Yeah. Duration. So after duration, we are going to despawn. Despawn the spell. And that should take it out of all of the clients as well. Game object. Okay. Let's see. Why high Z, why C sharp? Because I'm using Unity. Unity is C sharp. And I've been using C sharp about 15 years. So I'm very well used to it. But if you want to see some C++ code, we're using that as a reference. Cool. So let's build the server and then run the client in the inspector. So we need to wait 30 seconds to see if the object disappears, because it should despawn from the server. And if we walk into the area of effect, it should deal our damage as well. Poison damage, so it will come up as green letters or green numbers. It should also have a chance to apply poison to our character. Let's run the server and run the client. I'm on the wrong scene. Here we go. It's a chance of this working first time. Excuse me. Need a mage. Poison cloud. Where is it? Right. Right into the area of effect. Does it not know I'm inside it? Yeah, it doesn't seem to know I'm inside it. Inside the area of effect. Let's see if it disappears though. So at least get that bit right. Yeah. So duration and despawning works. Despawns it from the server and then the client is updated. So the bit that doesn't work is the actual effect of the dynamic spell. Did I forget something really straightforward? I think I did. Yeah, I didn't run start world spell. Start world spell. Oops. Just build that again. Second time lucky. Come on, Unity. I'm getting excited now. We're so close. Then we can do the visuals. Just while that's loading, I'm going to load up the original visuals using the pack editor, the one that I made a while back. Sprite editor, pack editor, here we go. Oh, server's built. Let's load up the client and trying to find this pack editor. This one, I think. Yeah, here we go. So I don't know which pack it's under. God. Let's just check this works. Come on, damage me. You know you want to. Ah. Doesn't see me in there, does it? Alright, let's look at the pack editor first. That's why we're here. There's Ice Storm. That's going to be the hardest one to do because I'm not very good at visuals. That's Spikefield. That one's pretty simple, I think. There we go. Actually, they're quite round. I remember them being a lot more square, but this should hopefully be quite simple. Just a dust effect. Got loads of smoke effects in my assets. And also we've got the poison effect that comes above our head, which is quite similar. This one. So it's just that, but flat, really. Could even use a mesh to represent it, so it gives it some volume. Okay, that. Take damage sound for females needs to change. Let's put that to the side for a second and let's figure out this issue. Start world spell. We just didn't start the coroutine. Start coroutine. Handle poison effects. Let's pass in the dynamic spell. It's just forgetting to handle stuff. I wrote all the code and then didn't actually hook it all up. Now, some of the things that we can improve on from the original game is this hard-coded value here. We could put that into the config of the spell, maybe. So we could say maybe Poison Cloud happens every 1 second or every 5 seconds. And also the direct damage value as well we can pass in to the config. This is hard-coded and it's really, really bad actually. The way that they did it here. That's Ice Storm. So rolls a dice 2 by 4. If this value is below 20, It's just horrible. So I think we can make some improvements. I am interested to see how the weather effects work as well. Obviously, we only have rain in the game, but I'm interested to see what effect these actually have. Oh, it's 46. It passed the value 46 in. Ah, so I think it reduces the value or the damage dealt by 1 if it's raining. That's a hidden little gem I didn't even realise in the original game, but maybe, I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? Rain dissipating the damage dealt. It's so negligible, though. I mean, would you even notice that if you didn't look through the source code? Probably not. Anyway, let's rebuild the server and make sure that it all works. Start the client. Good. Okay. Third time lucky. Here we go. Really? Hmm. Not gonna happen, is it? Okay. So why are we not working? Let's see. So when the server starts, start the world's, set up the area, which is, yeah, this collider. It might actually be worth debugging the server side to make sure I'm actually entering the collider space. But then we start the world spell. Could it be these not working? Possibly. Maybe we can track that with the inspector, see what happens. Let's debug it from the server. I want to make sure that the server sees my character going in and out of the collider space. So I'm going to build the client and then run the server instead this time. I built that wrong. I built it wrong. I did. Oh, I might be able to get away with it. Let's just run it. Okay, let's log it back in. Server starts up. Okay. So what we want to see, if I cast the spell, it should appear here. Spawn it on the network. Boom. And so we can see the collider there, right? So if I walk towards it, I should enter it. So I'm inside it, as you can see. And there is an owner in range, actually, so that is... hold on. Okay, so this is where the issue is. The dynamic spell does not have an owner, and therefore there is no owner to deal the damage. And in the take damage function, we do this check here, where we say attacker that can damage this, but this can only work if the attacker exists. I think die. Yeah, die actually checks the attacker. I think we need to do this. Or it would be an or, right? If the attacker is null or attack is null, and I expect that would return 0. Attacker is not null, and I can't damage this. I mean, if the attacker is null, then it carries on. Attack. Yeah, because then this condition isn't met. Right. Let's just go over and check NPCs as well, because we're going to be using this on the mobs as well. NPC, take damage. I've probably done the same thing over here. Attacker. Oh. That's fine. It's this one, reactive state on damage taken. Oh, this is the AI stuff. This will be this. We just need to make sure that it's reacting to no attacker. Yeah. If attacker no. So this is the response if the NPC is responding to being attacked, they'll then attack the player. There needs to be a null check here, probably same here as well. Yeah. So if it takes damage from a null attacker, like dynamic spell, world spell, it doesn't need to react to it, it's just going to sit there and take it. I mean, technically this does a null check, but I think this makes sense just to put that check in. There. Oh, I think that's fine. Okay, so that should work. Let's spin it up again. We'll debug it from the server again, just in case. build the client. I'm too quick for it. Here we go. In cloud. There we go. Perfect. Nice. Right, so if I enter back in, take another bit of damage. Poisoned. Good. So one part of it done. Now we just got to do the client visual effect. So let's create a visual effect. Okay, you know what, I'm going to start with, I'm just going to copy stats effects poison. Unpack this. As you can see, it's like a billboard at the moment, so it just points towards us. I think what we can do, bring this down to just above the ground. Flip it, maybe, or what shape have we got? Like a box. Although if we look at the original sprite over here, it's like it's flat, pointing upwards. So maybe we do that. Box is 3D. Rectangle. Maybe spin this around. Is that even gonna? It doesn't really look flat, does it? We render it. Okay. Local? Yeah, local. You can render it local. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. More of a round effect here, though, isn't it? Circle. Maybe ramp up the emissions, like 10 or something. Right, select the right up, thank you. Oh, it just feels a bit flat. Maybe we do a sphere or something. Gives up the illusion of volume there. And if we sort of scale it down on the Z, yeah, got a bit of volume, I guess. Anyway, let's get this in here. Test it. We can actually modify it while the game is running. So Let's call this world spells. We'll call this poison cloud segment because there's multiple of them. Because if it's cloud kill, it's obviously like 4x4, 5x5, and we'll create we'll put one effect per segment. And the alternative is to have this scale accordingly. We'll see. 0.3. It makes sense to, before I do this, change the start size back down and go back up to this sort of size. Oh, but then the problem is that it's the scale of the individual billboards, isn't it? It was actually much nicer before. More? Colours off. Or the colour, yeah, it's darker in the OG. No, it doesn't look as tight, does it? Just looks like there's more of it, maybe? I don't know. It's pretty dark. I don't know, it has this sort of glow to it, which we can do. We'd have to put some emission on the smoke. Let's just leave it like this for now. Right, so scripts, settings, spells, poison cloud. We're gonna get this poison effect on the visuals. Segment. And let's finish up this code. So on the world spell, when we render, there's render. Yeah, so we're instantiating segment. Now, do we want to do multiple segments? I think for now, what I'll do is I'll just get it to instantiate a single segment. The effect itself should start on wake. Double check. Oh. Can wake, yep. And the other one would be preborn, yeah. And then it will loop, and then when it dies, it's got to just disappear, which ain't nice, but we can improve it later so it sort of fades out instead. And I think what you can do is simulate it in world space. That might do it. I don't know. I think maybe if the parent dies, it dies with it. Let's build the server up. Build the server, run the client. You know what I didn't do? I didn't get rid of the cube. Okay, I think I can get rid of it while it's running because that's the prefab on the server, right? Or the client, right? Soon find out. Yeah, because it's not networked. I think that's fine. That should not cause me an issue. Well, that's tiny. That's really tiny. Funny enough, the 1 by 1 scale is pretty perfect. I think maybe the duration needs to be quicker so it doesn't flicker as much as like if I get um, if I get poisoned, it it looks nicer where it's sort of like having that effect up here, but over here I think it should last each bit should last longer. Maybe do the lifetime. Oh, it's so violent. Maybe we need to ease it in a little bit, which we can do, I think, with like this. This is the alpha here, 0 alpha here. So that eases it in. Might not need to ease it out, but let's do this. Yeah, that's much better. The colour's well off, but yeah, I think that looks nicer. Still see it flickering quite a lot. I don't know why that is. But did I see that fade out nicely? Because I've got it in world space. Let's see what happens. No, it doesn't. Ugh. Kind of needs to sort of cool down before the server despawns it. Let's change the colour. Used to be less lime, really. Darker like that. Something like that. Dark green. That's lighter than that, isn't it? Something like here. It's gone a bit grey now. Doesn't fit the aesthetic. Brighten it back up. I kind of like that. That's kind of a nice colour. The problem here is the players being able to determine the area because I mean, it's not a square, is it? I'd like to see a comparison. Let's have a look at the scene view. Yeah, it's sort of goes out the confines slightly, but it is pretty much in the box. So that 1 by 1 scale is actually pretty perfect. Does it kind of still seem off? That's going to really bug me. It's too bright, isn't it? I'm going to stick with this. I like this. This looks good. Is it me, or does this seem too small, though? It doesn't seem like 3x3, does it? Poison Cloud. Um, let's have a look at the OG. Poison Cloud. Do we have any references that we can use? I feel like I'm just going to make it bigger anyway. Although Cloud Kill is supposed to be the scaled up version, there's no reason why we can't have it scaled based on magic. Let's add, excuse me, let's add Poison Cloud. Let's have Cloud Kill. And we're not really using Segment, are we, very well? I suppose what we could do is scale it based on the config, maybe? Yeah, it is small. It's smaller than the original game, isn't it? I feel like it's smaller. Uh, Fire Strike, Fire. Trying to find other spells that have ranges on them. Yeah, AoE range. But I think this is working slightly differently. I think this does a distance check from the center outwards by 2 segments. I think it is actually small. I think that is the problem. I think this range works slightly differently to the AoE range of direct damage. I think. But yeah, it definitely is small. Let's try it. Build the server back up again. Because Cloud Kill, I remember doing Cloud Kill in the original game, and it took up half the screen. Granted, that was in like 640 by 480 or 800, 600. I remember it being a lot bigger. That's what she said. So at the moment, the effect isn't being affected by the range. So I think what I'll do is I'll increase the range of the effect based on the config. We're going to have to do that on a per visual, like have a config that says that we want to actually do that, because things like Ice Storm aren't going to be affected by that sort of logic, I don't think. I mean, you could have a much bigger Ice Storm, but yeah, it takes up a lot of room. Okay, so this now has a bigger range. I did set that. I swear I set that to 3. Did I not set it to 3? Yeah, I did. So that's not actually working. Although I think the area of effect is only actually on the server. I mean, we can visualize it just by messing about with the inspector, to be honest. 3 by 3, 3, 3. It's 1 by 1. It's 2 by 2. Yeah, that. Yeah, it recenters, so it has to be 3 for the range, because it's doing 3 by 3, whereas the AoE damage is doing distance from center. Which, if I set it to 3, it'd be 3 that way, 3 that way. That's 6. So 3 is correct. 3 range correct. Now we probably want to resize the effect. Ideally, this needs to be size 1, and then we scale it up in code. I mean, that looks too big. Oh, yeah, that's too much. So that's too small. That's probably about right. Using a 2 by 2. But we need it to be 3 by 3. Which means we just got to make sure that the actual size here is probably about 0.5, something like that. Five, 3, 3, 3. Way too big. I think the size is per sprite. That kind of works. What's 4 look like? That is kind of perfect, but it's using start size of 4. Let's see what happens when I use 3. 3 by 3. Segment size 3. Actually, that doesn't look too bad, right? I mean, granted, it is a sphere. I mean, it could be a box. Although that didn't really work because of the sprite is kind of round. Over more boxy smoke. Ice smoke, fire smoke. It's not a particle. Smoke 26. Doesn't even look like smoke, it looks kind of... Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. It's wispy. It's very circular. It's a box. Box. Yeah, I mean, you do something like that and get a bit more of a square look to it. Then again, this one doesn't look too bad. The original doesn't look too bad as a box either. Let's try it. So what we need to do is set up the spell and configure the size, start size. So I actually don't know how to do. Get the particle system out a second. Yeah, it's deprecated. How do we do this? Range? Oh, we need to take a copy. Why they do it like that? I think that's fine. Anyway, we can. If it don't work, it don't work, does it? I mean, if it does work, we'll set up Cloud Kill. Test it with a larger size. Cloud Kill is how big? One by one, apparently. That's not right. Probably this value here, 1 and then 3. Doesn't seem right though. I don't think it matters. I think we can just ballpark it. Yeah, that's tiny. What size is this? Didn't I have? I had it 3 before, didn't I? Surely. It's because of this. Let's see. Man, it comes out so small. And that's too big. Yeah, this start size is not good to manipulate, I don't think. I mean, the only other way to do it is to sort of fudge these 1.5. probably pretty good. Should put a longer duration on it for testing. That's too much. So that is correct. Oh, well then, that is 3x3 though. Maybe that is correct. Because you can imagine, like, because in the original game it's 3x3, you can imagine 9 people standing here. I think it's right. I think it needs to be a bit lower, so it's closer to the ground. I think there's a bit of a depth perception issue. Prefab gob. Yeah, I mean it's kind of low. It does have depth. Change this. 0.2. Like that. It's like it's not preloading. When you first start it, it grows. I kind of like the effect, to be honest, but yeah, because like it sort of pulls from the middle. Colour still feels off, but I think that it kind of reminds me of Diablo 3. You know when they pull those fire pulls around you. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Let's create Cloud Kill and see if the range effects work. I can just copy the other one and just quickly set the range on it. Wasn't Cloud Kill. I'm pretty sure. Oh, we might as well do the other stats as well. Just for completion, Cloud Kill is 120 apparently. 120 units. 130 mana. 30 seconds range. I'm pretty sure range is like 5. I think it's 5. It might be too small. I'm gonna go with 6. Let's go with 6. Add that onto the world manager. And rebuild the server. And it should just work. Oh, did I actually rename it? That might cause a problem. Okay. Server started. Might help if I load the right scene. Client starting. Come on, Unity. Iron looks small. Does Cloud kill against Poison Cloud? I mean, it still has quite a big area of effect though. I don't get why so much violence going on here. Where did it go? Like twisting and turning. And who knows? Kind of annoying that it grows from the centre, but I only because I'm comparing to the original game. But I do kind of like how it grows. I do feel my perfectionism is creeping in. It makes me want to fix this weirdness going on here. It might be Z fighting because it's using a mesh, maybe. Use a rectangle. Right. Duration's gonna make it go bigger, right? Rate over time, flow over time, size over time. I don't know, it just feels a bit violent. I guess what we could do is make it fade out quicker or something. Maybe do this. Not quicker, more gradual fade in, fade out. Let's see. Looks worse. Why? What happens if you put some gravity on it? Yeah, it just flits out. A local space. Microphone. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, I think there's something going on in the background and it's interfering. Hopefully it helps now. Let me know if it gets any better. But I also have a cold. I've been ill for like 2 weeks, so I do sound a bit funny. Plus my accent, obviously. Oh, I've poisoned McGaffin. Yes, we need to put some limitations on who I can damage. Should be able to damage travellers, civilians. Not much we can do about same party, I don't think. Anyway, I think I'm quite satisfied with how it looks at the moment. There's definitely room for improvement. Yeah, my microphone is actually maxing out for some reason. Wonder if it's on the right one. Yeah, it's on the correct device. I don't know what it is. Yeah, I'm quite satisfied with it. I think the last things we need to do before I finish up here is making sure that it can't damage certain players. The world spell also needs to know some information about the caster so that we can apply scaling damage, although that system isn't really in yet, so we can't really do that. Although the world spell, if I have access to the client, say for example I stored the player ID here, because this is running on the server, I can do a lookup to the game server, get the character, and get their match value or their int value, apply certain stats based on that. Like I said earlier, I think the biggest problem with that is then dealing with the situation where someone casts it at 200 match and then resets their stats to like 10 match, and then the damage stops counting. I know it's a very edge case, but it could happen. Yeah, I think what we need to do is check if they can be affected by. Yeah, so that they only enter if they can be affected by spells. The way we do this on other spells is we check if the caster can hit the target. We don't have the caster reference here, so I think I'll just do something really arbitrary here. Can or is affected, right? So we just have something like this. If owner is null, turn false. If owner side status value equals civilian, turn false. Obviously, return true is the default thing there. Owner side status value. What else we got here? Yeah, we want all the other ones to be affected. If the side value is neutral, yeah, neutral, and well, do the initial check here. Owner dot type NPC false. If to be honest, neutral deals with travelers and neutral NPCs. Affected. Well, I don't know why that is. I've just put the. Oh god, it's like maxing right out. Test, test, test. Hello, hello. Is that any better? What I need is a proper microphone, really. You know, I talk. I'm just putting that extra check there if it contains, because it will error out if the owner isn't in the owners in range collection. I think this should be affected. My country spawned the language and I can't even speak it. That's fine. That'll do. We can test this as well. There is some like background noise that the microphone is picking up. Don't know what it is. It's silent in this room. Yeah, I don't know what it is, to be honest. Maybe it's just my headset. I just need to get a proper microphone. Okay, we're going to do one last check to make sure that McAfee doesn't get affected by Cloud Kill now. Where's my staff gone? Did it break? Did I unequip it? Let's unequip it. Oh, it's on a hotkey, that's why. Must have hit the hotkey. I haven't put Cloud Kill on the right circle. What circle is it? 8. Circle 8. Not that the circle's that important anymore, because I'll be changing that. There we go. Circle 8. Diamorphin. Perfect. And it should still affect me. Yeah. I mean, the damage is pretty pathetic. It needs a bit of balancing. I'm out healing it. Although, what damage did I do? Yeah, I mean, I left Cloud Kill on 20. I also wanted to bring in the damage, the direct damage effect as well. Not this sort of direct damage, but I mean direct damage when you're standing in the Cloud Kill. This was 40, I believe. Cloud Kill 40, yeah. I'm going to restart the server to do it. You guys want a sneak peek of some of the music? I really shouldn't be doing this, but... Ooh. Oh, we don't have the blacksmith set up yet. This is where we have the abrupt change in music because I haven't implemented that yet. Oh yeah, skills. Boom. Gathering. Axe. Oh, I can't use the axe. Axe. This is something I wanted to get done today, which is the where the trees disappear when you go under it for PvP. But I need to be able to see the trees to be able to hit them. So it doesn't work. Problem is, okay, I'm going to turn off the occluders. I'll just delete all of these. So the occluders are what handle me going under the tree. The problem is, I can't see myself anymore, but I still need to be able to hit this tree. So yeah, something to think about. You can see that I'm getting logs and things. So many fish. Got a big old fish here somewhere. Where is it? Big one. 0.93 kilogram perch. And then the other thing I was doing today was sell items, which I need to finish the last bit, which is actually hooking up these buttons. But I'll probably take that offline and finish it. Also, I was doing the valuations of items as well. So we've got a value here, 1031, which is calculated based on the stats it has and the type of item and the base value. So some items, depending on their stats and their stat values, for example, 20% gold drop is the highest gold drop you can get. That's 20 stat points. 20 stat points is the limit. In the OG, it used to be 13 stat points. Because it's got 20 stat points, it increases the value a lot for this item. So even though it's a short sword, it's worth 14k. But getting 20% gold drop is very, very rare as well. Obviously, I've spawned that in, and that's why it's quite a valuable weapon. Same with this greatsword. I think 14% is 20 stat points as well, which again is super rare. 140% hit probability is just insane. I'll probably cap that, lower the stat point amounts, so it'd be like 1 stat point is 5 instead of 7. But anyway, that's the reason why it's valued at 48k. If I go to sell that to the shop, it sells it for half the value, minus the repair cost. So obviously half the value is going to be 24 point something k. But because it needs repairing as well, it takes some money off. So the idea is it's a gold sink. You can sell whatever you like, and then another player can come along eventually and buy those items as well. So the shops will be stocked with the items other players collect through the game. So the economy is completely player driven. So you can sell fish, and you can sell your gatherables, and your choppables, and your minables, which eventually will be used for your alchemy and your manufacturing, etc. Speaking of mining, we can go and mine as well. So we've got this pickaxe, strength 52, I think that's right, isn't it? Can't remember the original game. You can find a rock and go hit it. Awesome. Why is it struggling with certain areas? Anyway. No, it's really struggling. Yeah, so obviously the idea is that all of the skills are dynamic in the game and engaging. Obviously, in the original game, for those who've played it, you just go into your bag, you use the crafting item, and it's just something just shakes about on the screen, and you get an item. In Helrift, the world will be interactable. So, like you saw with the mining and the wood chopping, and also with the fishing, you actually interact with the world in order to perform those skills. Apparently, I can fish underneath the bridge there. You get the idea. You can interact with the world to collect items. Similarly, I will be having interactable stations for the various skills. Like if you're going to smelt something, you need to smelt it at a smelting station. If you need to do alchemy, you'll use an alchemy bench. But these will be accessible in all the normal places in town, city halls, magic. What do they call it? Magic shop, magic tower, or whatever it's called. Blacksmith and the shop. Yeah, so it's going to be like you were doing it, like how people were doing it anyway. They would stand around in warehouse and fiddle about in their bag, and it would create an item. It just makes the world a bit more alive, and as I say, interactable. So it could be something like this. This becomes interactable here, and you do your smelting here at the blacksmith. Or if you wanted to do manufacturing, you use an anvil like this. All of this stuff would be eventually highlighted so that it's obvious that you interact with these things. I just got teleported because I am not a traveller. I've got no stamina. Yes. Can I fish in this? That'd be an Easter egg, wouldn't it? Fish in there. No. So yeah, that's the PvE side. The idea being that we'd funnel all of that, all those other processes like wood cutting and gathering into the alchemy tree, and the alchemy tree is going to be quite core to the gameplay, especially in PvP, because it will buff your players beyond their capabilities. So yeah, look forward to that. And for those who like PvE, I'm sure they would enjoy standing around fishing all day and chatting with their friends. And of course, all of these skills have a risk-reward system as well. So if you go to a more dangerous area or more contested area, you can get access to better fish, better gatherables, better wood. Did I see a bluegill? Oh, did I drop it? Oh, because I'm full bag. Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, Bitu I. We had a play test a few weeks ago where we were testing all the PvP. And we're doing an open beta at the end of this month, so you're free to join that. It's completely open, so you can sign up and come in and join. We did a lot of PvP testing, and I got a lot of feedback, which I've been working on and trying to smooth it out and make sure it feels good and perfect. So, yeah, it's being worked on. It's hard to show bits of that when I'm the only one on it at the moment. Even if I loaded up multiple clients, it's hard to sort of fight myself with just one mouse. But I can try and get some videos together if I can get some people together to do some videos and things. Then yeah, I don't see why not. But yeah, when we do the open beta, definitely sign up to that and have a play, see what you think. The whole point of the open beta is to get some feedback. Like I want more than we had about 7 or 8 people on concurrently before during the playtest, testing PvP. And yeah, it went quite well. It would be interesting to see what happens when we get 80 people on at the same time and really start ragging the server, because there's definitely going to be a lot of optimization. There's going to be a lot of improvements that need to be done. Might be some glitchy like clipping and stuff. It might be that the controls are difficult. I know we've had there was a few pieces of feedback during the playtest where the controls were a bit off, hard to hit people in certain angles or certain positions. So I've been working on some of that stuff as well. Obviously, the only thing I can show you is PvE, which works like PvP, but the slimes aren't much of a challenge, you know. Yeah, combat is pretty smooth at the moment, but definitely needs some ironing out in certain areas, and also lag compensation as well is a big one. I don't know how bad it's going to be for people in certain areas of the world, but yeah, again, the feedback from the open beta should help with that. Some of the too easy. I'm too strong. You know, I've been thinking about like full screen PvP, and realistically, because the way I've set up the networking side, realistically, you could probably do a full screen of people, because the networking is done by distance, so it's only going to give me information about things within, I think it's like 15 units of me, which is just over the size of the screen. So it kind of works like the original game, except for there's no tiles. It would be a bit different in like a first person. You couldn't have hundreds of people in front of you, because the amount of distance you have to cover with your networking solution is much bigger. But you are kind of limited to the amount of things you can fit on the screen. I'm not promising it's gonna be perfectly smooth, but there's no reason why it couldn't handle loads and loads of items, loads of objects that are networked at the same time. Even like casting spells and stuff is all done client side, for example. The only ones that aren't done client side are the ones that we've done today, which, you know, Cloud Kill, Poison Cloud. Yeah, 20 versus 20 should be perfectly fine. I don't know. I feel like you're acting like 20 versus 20 is a common occurrence. Isn't it usually 20 versus 1? Raiding Middleland. But jokes aside, ultimately, if I can get Crusades to be smooth, I'll be very, very happy. Crusades and world events in general are a big key to this, because those are the things that sort of tie the whole lore together and the whole point of playing. Sort of like the pinnacle of PvP. And I've got lots of plans as well for world events, how players interact with their town, giving more features to interact with the town and get rewards from the town, and become more prestigious for their town as well. So yeah, the social element's a big thing. Big guilds, parties. I'm probably going to keep limited to 8, maybe expand to 12. I don't like the idea of these like full town parties. Just seems to take away from the idea of parties. Yeah, that's true. Um, you have to be aware that that's happening in the original game as well, and the original game can handle it. The main difference here is the visuals, which is client side. So you might need a more powerful PC, but if it's optimized well, there's not too much floating about over the network, we can probably optimize it enough. I've done a lot of optimization as I've gone along, but I'm aware that it's going to be um, weeks and weeks and weeks of optimization to get it perfect. But like I say, everything's done by distance. That's the reason why I decided to go with the open world as well, because the open world is all done client side. The only thing the server does is keep track of which map chunk you're on for things like the weather and things like that. Really unimportant stuff that doesn't synchronize very often. So if you move over to a different map chunk, the objects that you see are still done by distance. I like to think I know what I'm doing, and I'm trying to sound like I know what I'm doing, but yeah, it is a problem. It is a problem that even AAA studios have to optimize the network and get enough players on. There will be a limit at some point. But we shall see. We had 23 testers on during the last playtest. Maximum concurrent that I saw was 8, and it was perfectly fine. I think some people had some like computer issues. It was a bit choppy for them, but yeah, I agree. Honestly, if I get the amount of players online that WoW gets, that's a nice problem to have. I would spend months optimizing it really down to the individual byte being sent over the server if I had that many players online. That's a great problem to have. But I would reiterate though that games like WoW that don't have fixed cameras and you're looking at a lot of things with much bigger distances than what we're looking at in this game, they have more complex problems. Helrift has a fixed camera. You can't sort of pan it down, look in the distance, and see more. So we do have a bit of an advantage. That's the trade-off for having a fixed camera, I guess. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's unique challenges. WoW has unique challenges. I'll have unique challenges. It has performed really well up till now. Yeah, yeah. And if I can get like HB Olympia and handle that many people on the screen, I'll be very happy. I don't know how that performs. I assume quite well since people love that server. I assume that there's some people who don't perform very well because of maybe they live in Australia or something. There's nothing we can really do about that. We do have lag compensation in here, but that definitely needs a lot more testing. But yeah, there is one point to be had there is with Hellbreath is that because it's tile based, there's very limited amount of communications about how people move. You know, you see what 10 by 12 tiles. I don't know what Olympia's resolution is, but 10 by 12 tiles back in the day. So there's a limited amount of places that a character can move to, and we only tell the clients when they move between cells. The actual animations between cells is all client side, whereas in Helrift and in the other 3D game, we're constantly transmitting the float position, the vector 3, because there's almost an unlimited amount of positions that I can be on the screen. So it's constantly updating. But Fishnet has some stuff built in to handle that. Compression of the data, obviously the client prediction stuff that I spoke about a while back. Yeah. Like I say, it's a lot of challenge. It's a big challenge. I'm sure we can get through it. And we have all the right tools as well. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're using the same sort of stuff that any other game company uses. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens. That's sort of the point. I mean, I've been doing this project for like 7 months now, 6-7 months. Long way to go to get it perfect, you know. First open public playable version of the game. I mean, technically the open beta will be public, and it will be playable, but it's unlikely to be. You're unlikely to keep your accounts after the beta ends, unless by some miracle all the balance is fine. You know, in terms of the proper version, the non-beta, and by the way, this will be through Steam, so we'll do the beta through Steam, and we'll do the initial early access release through Steam. Will be February, start of February, basically February the 1st is the goal. But I will stress that is early access, so just keep that in mind. You can be using the same tools, but I've never seen a game like HB. Maybe there's a reason. Yeah, that has crossed my mind. Like HB managing to be performant with all of that is actually quite impressive, especially for such an old game. And if you know anything about the original source code, it was a complete mess. It was like one long CPP file with no discernible coding standards. I think the art really is limiting the amount of data that's being transferred, which Helrift did a lot, well, and did very well because there wasn't too much data to transfer. The game wasn't a very complex game. I'm too strong. Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff coming up behind the scenes as well, leading up to the leading up to the initial release. They're getting graphics done both outside of the game and in the game. We're looking at hero armor at the moment to have some sort of goal for the initial release. We've got music coming as well, which will have, you know, the trailers and the in-game ambient music as well. Yeah, but I mean, if you've seen the, like I say, if you've seen the original C++ code, you can see the data, everything, all the data that's being transferred. It's got its own bespoke, I guess you could call it, bespoke networking protocol, but it is just a real breakdown of the raw bytes that get sent over the network, and they really pack them in. You know, they're using bitwise packing for the appearance of the character, for example. I actually send down a lot of data about the appearance of the character. So a lot of it is unnecessary. So that's something that I'd definitely look at improving. Like, for example, if I log in another character now, it's going to transfer all the information about the equipment that that character has on. In the original Helrift, they would just send a single integer for each item, which was an appearance value, which they used bitwise packing to pack it as small as possible, and then they unpacked it on the client side, and yeah, it was very, very efficient. And those sort of techniques I could replicate here if I wanted to. I just got to put the work in. It just takes a lot of work. What is this dropping? Oh, this is slime jelly. It hasn't got a model yet. Just got a picture. The model is meat. Very nice. Yeah. The zoom doesn't actually affect the distance, the observer distance. So it'd be a combination of both, because the observer distance is handled by the server. But you can't really. I mean, my zoom goes all the way in here, and this is kind of useless for most gameplay. Might be nice for taking a screenshot. You know, if you wanted to take a screenshot of your character or whatever and put it on the forums. But it's kind of useless, and there's the full zoom isn't that much zoomed out. if you compare it to like Olympia. The main difference is that you can fit a lot more characters on this screen because it isn't tile based. But yeah, that might be one option, limiting the zoom. Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. That the inherent limit is that we have a fixed camera, so there is a limit on how much you can fit. This is the ultimate limit for the camera zoom. And we also don't have to look into the distance. We're just looking straight down, like say WoW or FPS games. Apart from that, the limits will be packing the data, not making sure we don't send unnecessary data, stuff like that. Yeah, they can. I don't think this is much different to Olympia though, in terms of the size of the character in reference to the amount of screen being displayed. Apart from the fact that HB or Olympia is tile based, so there is a limited amount of space that a character can occupy. It is a massive problem. Yeah, I agree. As I say, it's a nice problem to have. If you've got enough players on there to hit your CCU limits. Yep, I'm up for the challenge though. There are modern techniques. I mean, if you look at like EVE Online, for example, with their sharding system and their time dilation system, yeah, for sure. Like those large-scale battles are Helrift. If I can get them right, then I'll be very happy. If a company 20 years ago could do it, I'm sure I can do it. Why is my SP not regening? Very, very slow. Yep, definitely a lot of work to do in the future. Optimize the hell out of everything. And yeah, limit the amount of data being sent. That really is key. Because that's how Helrift did it. And I've rewritten Helrift once already. In C#, funnily enough. So I know how they've done it. But anyway, it's very late for me, so I'm going to end the stream here. I think we did some good work today. We got dynamic effects working. We got poison cloud and cloud kill put in. and it sets up the system so that we can start creating things like Ice Storm, Firefield. I do want to add in the burn effect, which I think Olympia has. There's Firefield, Firewall, Spike Field, and there's other effects that I want to add as well through the alchemy system. So yeah, I'll be getting that done this week, and I'll post it on media. Yeah, but I mean, like I say, there's tools, there's engines, there's all sorts of newer techniques as well that people are using, and it's getting the right combination of those things to fit the game. You know, we can talk all day about what EVE Online does or what WoW does. At the end of the day, it's going to be a unique challenge for every game, especially in Helrift, which has a very niche and unique gameplay style. But with that, I'm going to leave it there, and thanks for watching. And yeah, just keep an eye on Discord, and yeah, I'll post some more screenshots and things throughout the week on the systems that I'm building. Thanks, BitEye. Have a good one.